If you think the deadliest things in Australia are the snakes, spiders, and sharks, just wait until you learn about today's killer, who needed only one day to take the lives of 35 people and destroy countless others. Today, we're unraveling the explosive story behind Martin Bryant, Australia's most notorious mass murderer and the man responsible for one of the worst single-person mass shootings the world has ever witnessed, the Port Arthur Massacre. 25 years have passed since this tragic event, which prompted the Australian government to implement extensive gun control measures. A nationwide buyback scheme was initiated, resulting in over 643,000 firearms being surrendered at a cost of approximately $350 million. Today, the country maintains strict regulations requiring adults to obtain proper licensing before purchasing any type of firearm. On May 7, 1967, Martin Bryant entered the world at Queen Alexandra Hospital in Hobart, Tasmania. As Maurice and Carleen Bryant welcomed their first child, they couldn't have foreseen the horrific events their son would later orchestrate. From an early age, Martin exhibited violent and disruptive tendencies, and after enduring severe bullying at school, he transformed into a bully himself, targeting younger and weaker children. His behavior became so concerning that in 1977, at just 10 years old, he was suspended from Newtown Primary School. This suspension led to the first of many psychological assessments, revealing disturbing patterns. The evaluations uncovered Martin's propensity for torturing and killing animals, along with an IQ of just 66, classifying him as legally mentally disabled. Though he returned to school in 1978 with temporarily improved behavior, his inability to form friendships soon led him back to bullying younger children. At 14, Martin received his first firearm, an air rifle gifted by his father. The young boy would recklessly shoot at passing drivers and kill birds for sport, earning him the nickname Silly Martin among local children who noted his complete lack of empathy for living creatures. His academic struggles continued, leading to his transfer to a special education unit at Newtown High School in 1980. By 1983, after leaving school, Martin underwent another assessment for disability pension. The examining psychologist documented that while he couldn't read or write, his parents' efforts had prevented further deterioration. However, the possibility of schizophrenia cast a shadow over his future. Though awarded a disability pension, Martin worked sporadically as a handyman and gardener. His mental disabilities would later be identified as a crucial factor in his inability to connect with others, and ultimately, what led to one of history's most horrific mass shootings. So my dear viewers, for 5 years, Martin remained at home, performing odd jobs around the neighborhood. In early 1987, at age 19, he finally formed his first meaningful connection with Helen Mary Elizabeth Harvey, a 54-year-old heiress to the Tattersalls lottery fortune. Their paths crossed when Martin was seeking lawn mowing clients, and he became a regular visitor to her neglected mansion, helping with chores and caring for her numerous pets, 14 dogs and 40 cats. This newfound friendship seemed promising, but the situation at Miss Harvey's home was far from ideal. Following a neighbor's report to health authorities, inspectors discovered both Miss Harvey and her elderly mother Hilda living in dangerously unsanitary conditions. Though both women were hospitalized, Hilda didn't survive, passing away at 79 years old. After her mother's death, Miss Harvey invited Martin to live with her in the mansion. While never confirmed, some speculated their relationship transcended friendship. They began spending vast amounts of Miss Harvey's fortune, purchasing over 30 new cars in less than 3 years, shopping daily, and dining at restaurants. Despite this apparent stability and wealth, Martin's psychological state continued to deteriorate. A pension disability reassessment during this period revealed an even more troubling picture. The examining psychiatrist attached a chilling note. Father protects him from any occasion which might upset him, as he continually threatens violence. Martin tells me he would like to go around shooting people. It would be unsafe to allow Martin out of his parents' control. Remarkably, despite such alarming findings, Martin wasn't institutionalized. In 1991, Miss Harvey purchased a 29-hectare farm called Torresville in the small township of Copping. The pair's move to this property drew immediate disapproval from neighbors, both due to their unusual relationship and Martin's increasingly erratic behavior. He would prowl the neighborhood at night, firing his air rifle at barking dogs, and tourists stopped at roadside apple stalls, clear indicators of his deteriorating mental state. Tragedy struck on October 20th, 1992, when Miss Harvey died in a suspicious car accident. While traveling with Martin and her 2 dogs, their vehicle suddenly veered into oncoming traffic, resulting in a head-on collision that killed Miss Harvey and her pets instantly. Martin survived with severe neck and back injuries, though police investigated his potential involvement, particularly given Miss Harvey's previous confessions to neighbors about his habit of grabbing the steering wheel while she drove, causing 3 prior accidents. They ultimately accepted his explanation that the unrestrained dogs had caused the crash. The death left Martin as the sole beneficiary of Miss Harvey's estate, inheriting assets worth over $550,000. However, due to his low IQ, his mother obtained a guardianship order, placing his assets under the management of public trustees, specifically his father. So following Miss Harvey's death, Martin returned to living with his mother, while his father managed the inherited farm. During this period, his father Morris attempted to purchase a small bed and breakfast near Port Arthur, but another couple, David and Nolene Martin, secured the property first. Martin's subsequent attempts to buy the business from them were rejected. The situation took another dark turn when Maurice Bryant fell into deep depression, which he often blamed on Martin. On August 16, 1993, divers discovered Morris's body in the property's lake, weighted down with a diving belt. Though ruled a suicide, some suspected Martin's involvement, theorizing he sought access to the money his father controlled through financial guardianship. Martin now inherited both his father's $250,000 and Miss Harvey's estate. His behavior grew increasingly eccentric. He began wearing gray linen suits, cravats, lizard skin shoes, and Panama hats, approaching strangers with fabricated stories about his successful career. His desperate need for social interaction led him to take multiple overseas flights simply to engage captive airplane passengers in conversation. By late 1995, Martin's mental state had deteriorated to the point of suicidal thoughts. I just felt more people were against me when I tried to be friendly toward them. They just walked away, he later revealed in an interview. His alcohol consumption increased dramatically in the 6 months leading up to the Port Arthur Massacre. Martin would later claim he conceived the attack plan 4 to 12 weeks before executing it, drawing inspiration from the Dunblane Massacre in Scotland, which had occurred just 1 month prior. Despite his concerning history, he legally acquired an arsenal including an AR-10 semi-automatic rifle, an AR-15 rifle, an L1A1 self-loading battle rifle, and a USAS-12 automatic shotgun. He made multiple reconnaissance visits to the Port Arthur historic site and purchased a large sports bag specifically to carry ammunition. So my dear viewers, on April 28, 1996, Martin's deadly plan began. Unusually for him, he woke at 6 a.m. to an alarm clock, something his girlfriend and family later noted as completely out of character. By 9:45 a.m., after his girlfriend's departure, He left home armed with his weapons and ammunition, heading toward Port Arthur. He arrived at the Seascape Bed and Breakfast around 11:45 a.m., the very property his father had failed to purchase. Believing the owners, the Martins, had deliberately acquired the property to harm his family and contributed to his father's fatal depression, he executed them in their guest room. These were the first casualties of what would become Australia's worst mass shooting. Proceeding to Port Arthur, Martin entered the Broad Arrow Cafe carrying his distinctive blue sports bag. He ordered a meal and engaged in casual conversation with tourists, presenting himself as just another visitor. However, after finishing his meal, he moved to the back of the cafe, which held 60 to 70 guests, and set up a video camera on an empty table. Drawing his AR-15 semi-automatic rifle, he unleashed a devastating barrage of gunfire. Within just 15 seconds, he fired 17 shots, killing 12 people and wounding 10 others. Moving to the gift shop where people sought refuge, he fired 12 more times, killing 8 more and wounding 2. Outside, a crowd had gathered. Believing the gunshots were part of a historical reenactment, Martin seized this opportunity to reload and continue his rampage, leaving 4 more dead and 6 injured. Driving away, he encountered the Mikak family, 36-year-old Nanette walking with her daughters, 6-year-old Alana and 3-year-old Madeline. In a moment of unimaginable cruelty, he shot and killed Nanette and Madeline, then pursued and executed Alana as she tried to flee. His rampage continued as he hijacked a BMW, killing its 4 occupants. Shortly after, he stopped alongside a white Toyota, forcing its male passenger into the BMW's trunk before killing the female driver. Around 2:10 p.m., he returned to the Seascape guest house, set the vehicle ablaze, and took his hostage inside, where the Martins' bodies remained. 2 responding police officers came under heavy fire from Martin, forcing them to take cover in a ditch. A special operations group arrived around 9 p.m., beginning an 18-hour standoff. Negotiations proved futile, ending when Martin's phone battery died. His sole demand had been transport to an airport via military helicopter. During the standoff, he killed his hostage, bringing the final death toll to 35, with 23 others wounded. The next morning, Martin set fire to the guest house in an attempted escape, but was captured and taken to Royal Hobart Hospital for treatment of burns sustained in the fire. He remained under heavy guard throughout his medical care. Held without bail, Martin underwent examination by court-appointed psychiatrist Ian Sale, who suggested he might suffer from a combination of conduct disorder, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, and Asperger's syndrome. Though these conditions couldn't excuse his horrific actions, they provided context for his behavior. At his trial on November 7, 1996, Martin initially pleaded not guilty, but was convinced by his court-appointed lawyer, John Avery, to change his plea to guilty on all charges. He received 35 consecutive life sentences, 1 for each victim, plus 1,652 years for attempted murder and grievous bodily harm. This unprecedented sentence came with no possibility of parole. Throughout his imprisonment, Martin has attempted suicide 8 times, most recently in 2007 when he tried to slash his throat with a razor blade. Recent exclusive interviews reveal he has become severely overweight, refusing to participate in prison yard exercise. His mental state has reportedly deteriorated further, with disturbing reports of him trading sexual favors for chocolate. As of 2021, the unremorseful mass murderer remains in maximum security at Risdon Prison. The massacre prompted sweeping changes to Australian gun laws. Self-loading rifles, self-loading shotguns, and pump-action shotguns were either banned or severely restricted. The government's buyback scheme collected over 640,000 firearms at a cost of approximately $350 million. various shocking conspiracy theories have emerged about the Port Arthur Massacre. Some suggest it was a government setup to justify stricter gun laws, noting previous mass shootings. Others question Martin's role as the shooter, citing witness descriptions that allegedly didn't match his appearance. However, none of these theories have been substantiated with credible evidence. Thanks for tuning in to Brain Fuel. That was the devastating case of Martin Bryant. And why don't you go ahead and click on one of the 2 videos on your screen for another one of our videos. But before that, please take a moment to subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, and share your thoughts in the comments below. See you in the next thrilling episode.